Hello and welcome back to Where Are All My Friends? This week's episode is with Nathan James, who is an extremely successful photographer and a musical artist. And it's not too often that you hear that combo together. And that's exactly why I wanted to have him on the podcast. And that's exactly what we talked about. I was so curious to hear how he's done such an amazing job growing in one industry, and then how he's done such an amazing job building and branding and growing as an artist. So we talked all about that. And I thought it would be a really fun discussion because I think a lot of the listeners that listen to this podcast have multiple creative facets and are probably interested in being able to do more than just one thing. So, what better person to talk to than someone like himself? It was such a rad episode. He shared so much and has such a cool story. So, let's get into it. Enjoy. Where are all my friends? Nathan James. I'm hype on this one, dude. Right before we started, I was saying, like, this is my favorite part of the internet. Like, we didn't know each other. Like,
yeah.
And that's the thing that I think is so magical about this. Like, thank you for taking a chance and thank you for being down to come onto the show.
1000%. Thanks for having me.
It's an honor. And I like, just to explain quickly, like what I saw in you, where I was like, I would love to talk to you.
Yeah.
Is I see this page. My friend sends me your page. He's like, yo, this guy's work is sick. And I was like, cool. Like pretty open-ended, right? Like a lot of creatives have cool work. So I look and it was kind of on me to like figure out what you did. So pretty quickly I'm like, okay, cool. Like he's definitely a photographer. But then I was like, you're also an artist. You're a musician.
Yes,
and I was like, okay, cool. And you passed that like quick, like I know exactly what you do off first impression test.
I love that you read that because I always struggle with being a photographer and music artist. Like I want people to be able to get both. Like if you don't know anything and someone sends you my page, like you're like, okay, I just dissected it. I get it.
Yes.
So that's good. I'm an A+ on that.
Yes. And I think that that's so important. Like I audit myself on that and I'm like, I really think that that's something that you have to be so good at doing in this day and age, because it's no offense to anybody. It's no offense to anybody looking at your profile. It's just people don't have time. You have to make it so simple. So the fact that you are two things, but it communicated quickly, I was like, all right, one, I'm impressed. But then two, as a photographer, I was like, your work is fucking great.
Oh yeah.
And then as an artist, I was like, your work is fucking great.
Fuck yeah.
That's a lot of what I want to talk about in this podcast is I don't see many people doing that well at the level that you're doing it, certainly.
Oh yeah.
And I'm very intrigued as to how that all came to be and how you kind of like, I want to hear, I think it was photography first.
Yeah. What's really unique is that I was like, okay, I don't see this very often where you see someone at a very high level of professionalism in two creative like genres. And mine is photography and music, right?
However, that's a little bit of an unfair standard because who's to say that every photographer doesn't have another creative outlet or anything like that? So I know there's tons of people like that, but the way you did it. So sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, exactly. So my whole thing was like, I've never was like, hey, I want to do music myself, you know? Until I did this art gallery. It was a photography art gallery, fine art photography, and it was called Nightmares, right? And so there were these 6 images that I shot, and each one represented a different like insecurity or like nightmare that I go through in my life.
Whoa!
And so they were all named after those things that I've gone through, which was, and I'll list them. So it was like, the first one was, do you give a fuck? Am I alone? Is this how it ends? Can you hear me? Why can't I feel anything? And am I good enough?
Fuck,
so there was those real 6 names. And when I did this gallery, I was like, man, what's something, because as a creative, you're always trying to think of things that, up the ante and something that, someone hasn't done before, right? And something different. So it's like, what if each one of these photographs had a song that I wrote and I'm singing on that explains some of what this piece means?
Holy, yeah.
So I did that, and I had never recorded anything, and I wrote these 6 songs, and they fucking sucked. But from doing that, I was like, wow, this is really fun. And just like anything, you're gonna suck at anything most of the time when you first start.
Yeah.
So you can't let that discourage you. Like I knew that, okay, I'm not good at this right now, but I'm gonna just get better and better the more I do it. Just like anything in life, the more that you practice, the more that you learn, the better you'll get.
Yeah.
And I would like to say that, each song that I've continued to put out shows signs of improvement and getting better, to where now I'm definitely feeling like I'm competitive on the musical side of things in terms of like the quality and level of like professionalism. And I'm just trying to do my best, in terms of the photography stuff. I'm definitely I would like to say just an A1 photographer.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how the music stuff started, man. Just from doing that Nightmares fine art photography gallery.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2019 in October.
That's
on October
fucking
26th, actually.
recent.
Yeah. So it's October 26th. And I didn't have any music out. I put out my first song like a year and 6 months ago, and I love it. I'm never gonna stop. I'll always do photography. I'll always do music. I love those two art mediums. They're fucking phenomenal. I just love it. So
Dude.
That's kind of what started it and made me realize, like, man, this is so fun. You know, and it's just another form of expressionism through those two art mediums, and I love it. Yeah.
It's so sick. I had no idea that it was that recent. So now to hear the evolution, because it's Outcast Radio, the last song that came out, right?
Last song, Outcast Radio. Yeah.
I was just listening to that and I was like, this fucking hits.
Yeah, it's a
so
smacker.
Like you're saying, like you're like, I'd like to think every song gets better. Like to me, that was absolutely my favorite song that you've put out, and that's like pretty recent.
Yeah,
but
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
In the scope of it, all of it's pretty recent.
All of it's recent. It's been a year and 6 months. So yeah, I'm a baby in the music side of things. I'm just getting going.
That's fucking nuts. Okay, so then for me and for a listener, I very intentionally, when I have a guest like yourself, like I like to do a little bit of a dive, but not a deep dive, because I think it's fun to have you explain it and me not know everything.
Yeah.
So my impression was that you came from a world of more like hip hop photography to start, right? But am I?
Yeah.
Like,
so
take me back, I guess.
Yeah, I'll take you back to
the beginning,
even like how me as a photographer started.
Yes,
so
please.
my mom is an art teacher, and she's always pushed art on me. I've always dabbled in the art side of things, but I was always into just like sports.
Okay.
Whether it be like Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
So grew up rollerblading, skating, biking, playing basketball, wrestling, swimming. Like,
dude, so super active,
football,
like doing
everything. Yeah. And I was actually nationally ranked in the country in high school on the ESPN rankings. I was top 100 best like basketball players in the nation.
No shit. Yeah, I guess you are kind of tall, huh?
Yeah, I'm a big guy, 6'3", and like I was dunking when I was in 8th grade. I was 5'8" dunking and shit. So yeah, it was cool. But I had a knee surgery.
Oh shit.
And it ended my career. I had 2 knee surgeries, couldn't play anymore. And my mom ends up sending me a camera in college. I played at Casper College in Wyoming, and it was a Division I junior college. I couldn't go Division I out of high school because my ACT scores didn't qualify me to be NCAA eligible, which is Division I, like university. So I had to go to Division I junior college. Okay. And then I was going to transfer out after 1 year.
Interesting.
And it was the most winningest junior college in the country. It's like one of the best like JUCOs for basketball. And I get there, my knee's all fucked up. I have to sit out the whole season. I come back the second season. I play 1 game, and the same thing happens again during like practice. Ends my career. My mom sends me a camera, and I start like taking photos of just random shit. But then I saw on Instagram this guy named John Bourne was like painting shoes, like hand painting actual shoes, customizing them, restoring them, all that. And I was like, that's sick. I love that. I've always been about fashion and everything. So it's like, I want to do that. So I order all the paint stuff, kind of figure it out, and I start painting my own shoes. And then I see that, damn, like I can really do this.
Yeah.
Like this is so much fun. I love this. And my teammates started to be like, yo, bro, do mine.
Oh,
and so
shit.
I started painting, and they would pay me to do them.
Oh
and then
my God,
people
amazing.
on the college campus would send me shit, and then people would ship me stuff from other states. My dorm room literally just turned into like a pile of shoe boxes. I was making like $100 to $200, $300 on like these shoes, depending on what people wanted.
Yeah.
How much work it was.
Yeah.
And so that's the first time too. I was like, damn, I've created my own like business, and I'm making money. I'm like, oh, like that's the first time it registered for me. Like, I don't need to work a 9 to 5. And that's how I've always grown up learning. Like I never thought that I could be an entrepreneur. Or I didn't even really know about that. I was like, you gotta go to college and work for someone,
Yeah.
And all through school too, I was a special ed student. And so I dealt with a lot of adversity with that stuff, and just being picked on, bullied, this type of shit. And it was an interesting combination because I was a really good athlete.
Yeah.
But then I was also this special ed student. So there's a lot of things that people could, hate on.
Really?
Because like, okay, they don't like that I'm good at this, so they can come on the special ed stuff and make fun of me.
What was special ed? Just like bad grades?
Just learning disabilities.
Yeah.
And it took like a little bit longer for like cognitive skills to just kind of develop and everything. You know what I
Interesting.
mean?
And school can be such a bitch. Like
Yeah,
people
you
can be
know.
so mean about dumb shit.
Yeah, so I was always really talented with like, like art and
Yeah.
just, athletics and stuff and just like creative and just any type of sense. But yeah, the schooling time was a very interesting situation for me. I was literally just like a popular outcast, meaning
Crazy.
like that weird, different kid that just goes against the grind that everyone knows of, but doesn't necessarily like fuck with or talk shit behind your back. You know what I mean? So
Interesting.
that's why like that
Yeah.
song Outcast Radio was very about my school experience. You know what I mean? So that's what
Ah.
that's really all about and telling my story of like through schooling in that song Outcast Radio.
Whoa.
'Cause that's what it was. It was like, and that's what my whole brand stands for. It's just like the popular outcast. The
Amazing.
people that for the people that people see but don't understand.
Wow.
So that's what that's all about.
It's crazy too, because again, like I don't know you on this deep level, but from everything I've seen and from what you've put out, like I feel it, and I feel how you can own what you are, but also just like own being an out like that. That says that really well,
Yeah,
actually.
and I've always just been true to myself. Like I've never smoked, I've never drank, I've never tried any of those things. Like, but yet I'm around all that all the time.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
I use the drinking and smoking that I've never done that as an example to like let people know like I'm really just about my shit. I do what it is that I want to do.
Yes.
Like, there's no one who's gonna persuade me or peer pressure me to do something that I don't want to do.
Dude, and I love
what
too,
mean?
it's like you're covered in tattoos. Like somebody could so quickly see you and make an assumption about you, and
Yeah.
then you're just no, this is like
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like,
bro.
somebody could
all
be
the
like, "Oh,
time.
let's go
that
party,"
That guy's
whatever.
heavy on the drugs.
Yeah, and
like
you're
the
just like,
alcohol,
"No."
but no, never. You know what I mean? But yeah, back to the photography stuff.
Yeah, so you get
that's
sent a camera.
Yeah, so my mom sends me a camera. I do all the shoe stuff. I start taking photos, and I got more and more into it. Then I actually started doing body art on females. I would literally
Okay.
paint on girls naked and do these crazy cool pieces. Funny story how I got into that too. I was like, man, where am I gonna find a girl who's gonna be down to just stand there naked for like a couple hours and me paint her? And I was like, the strip club. So, and I love strip clubs, man. I'm a huge strip club guy. Like a lot of girls I've dated or friends with, a lot of them are dancers. So yeah, I just, met those. That's how I started doing like the body art. And then I'll take photos of, them when I was done. So I was like, that's what really got me into like, dang, I like taking pictures of people. You know what I mean? And I got more and more involved in that. And then my first paid shoot ever and like my first real shoot ever too was actually for Mac Miller.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was at Red Rocks in Colorado. And I was at a nightclub, like a lounge nightclub thing. And my homie's like, yo, if you're really trying to get into photography, you should go talk to this lady named Rue Black.
Okay.
And so I go talk to her and I act like I was already this established photographer.
Yeah.
And she's like, do you have some work you can show me?
Yeah.
And the day before I had done my first photo shoot ever, and I showed her just those photos. And she's like, you have any other stuff? And I was like, my hard drive got stolen.
Perfect.
So that was my excuse, And she's like, but Mac Miller's coming to perform at Red Rocks on Halloween. Have you ever done anything like that before? I'm like, fuck yeah.
Damn.
And I hadn't.
Look at cool shit happening to you in October.
Yeah.
Huh?
So I had 30 days to like learn this camera really fucking
What
good.
camera?
It was a Canon T5i.
Dude, the amount of photographers that have gotten their start on a Canon T something camera.
The T something I. Yeah.
Yes.
So it started on that, man. And I was literally practicing on all my friends and random people. And I was sneaking into like nightclub venues to practice low lighting photography and changing lights. And bro, I could not figure it out.
But did you get like a strobe or anything, or it was just
it was
low
so
light?
hard to figure it out. I'd go on YouTube, I'd go into camera stores, I'd ask other photography people, and it seemed like just nobody knew how to do photography.
That's so
And I was
nuts.
so pissed by that. And now knowing what I know with the camera, if someone were to come to me and ask for that, in 5 fucking minutes, I could tell them everything they would need to know.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how the fuck could no one tell me that?
Yeah, like I feel like ISO, shutter speed, and aperture.
Yeah, bro. People were literally keeping like the secret from me because I didn't want to tell me. Now it's funny because those same motherfuckers are like, yo, bro, you're killing it. Holy shit. And I'm just like, fuck you,
Yeah, that's a big reason I wanted to start this podcast, was like, fuck the like gatekeepy, like hiding anything. Like, there's enough room for everyone to succeed.
There's so much room for everyone to win. And then, hey, it's so true. What goes around comes around.
Dude.
You have asshole energy, you're going to get asshole energy.
Yeah.
You have be a good person energy, you're going to be a good person energy back to you,
But you pushed through, like you cared enough where you're like, all right, fuck this. I can't find it. I'm just going to keep messing around.
And that's just always been my demeanor. It's just like effort. It's just the one word, effort. You know, no excuse, just produce. I always tell that to people all the time. Like, no excuse, just produce.
Fuck with that.
Yeah, man. Everyone loves to this. It's like I don't want to hear it. No excuse, just produce. Plan A doesn't work. Try B, C, D, E, F. Like, just find a different route to get to the same destination. You know?
And especially too, because it's way too easy to in your head assume that something, it's like, oh, I want this, so I need to do this. And then it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
And then you're just done or you quit or whatever. And it's like, no, like you're entirely capable of getting there. It's just sometimes the route to get there is fucking strange and it's not as direct. So
it's literally growing pains. You know? Anything new is always going to hurt more in the beginning than it will down the line.
Yeah.
You know? And
so real.
There's always ups and downs, and you know, there's ups, downs, and turnarounds, you know? So it's like, you got to just stick it through. And I have that happen all the time. But yeah, so it's Mac Miller.
Yeah.
So Mac Miller. And then that led into, you know, other artists.
Yeah.
And so, and at that, you know, I think that was like 2017, 2016 or something. They're just, you know, rock, like this new age rock wasn't as, you know, wasn't really like a thing then.
No.
You know what I mean? So what there was to shoot were these rappers or hip hop artists or alternative rap, emo rap type stuff. You know?
So
that's why a lot of the people I've shot were always those type of, you know, the new artists. And I've always been a rock and hip hop guy.
Okay.
I'm really big into 90s and early 2000s rock and hip hop.
So you probably found stuff like Linkin Park and things like that.
I mean, my favorite bands that I've grown up listening to for forever would definitely be like Stained.
Okay.
Like, the lead singer, Aaron Lewis. I fucking love Stained. Like, God damn, I love Stained.
Yeah.
And then Marilyn Manson, Ozzy.
Yeah.
Deftones.
Yeah.
Like I love Evanescence, like all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like rock.
Yeah. So that's on the rock side of things. It's you know, obviously there's the Blink-182, Sum 41s and stuff like that's all that pop punk, grunge, 80s hair metal. I love all that stuff. But then on the hip hop side of things, like the whole Eminem, 50 Cent, you know, kind of era, like those guys, like that's the hip hop stuff I really love.
Yeah, as a photographer, though, it sounds like you didn't really give a fuck about a genre. You were just like, I'm interested in taking pictures of people.
Yeah, I'm interested in taking pictures of people.
Yeah.
And the whole artist thing and hip hop just kind of like fell that direction. Wow. Because of the Mac Miller thing.
Oh, because like that.
So,
like,
you know, it just was a rabbit hole of like shooting all sorts of other things in that spectrum. That's where the business was. That's where people were finding value in me to use me. And so that happened. And then also doing a lot of lifestyle shoots too for, I've shot campaigns for Gucci, Puma, the brand Champion, you know, like the athletic apparel brand, all sorts of brands and people. So like I've shot everything. I'm into shooting all sorts of stuff.
No way.
Yeah.
So on like that level as a photographer, because that's like a whole side too, is your work is good. People are asking you to shoot, but then like shooting for brands, that takes a certain amount of business skill to know how to negotiate those deals and how to deliver to a professional corporation. Where did you develop that?
I'm great at talking to people.
Okay.
And business is all about just like social interaction and just that verbal
So that's
communication.
been there.
Yeah. You know, I don't know really where that skill was developed because any successful, like, you know, because what I'm doing when I'm talking to someone on the phone is I'm doing sales.
Yes.
Essentially, you know, it's a sales call, right? I'm negotiating.
Absolutely.
I don't know where I developed that, but I'm just good at just kind of the negotiation, talking, and just feeling people out. And
I wonder, even going back to like painting shoes days, like just learning business, negotiating things.
That's huge. That's probably 1000% where it first started of like, how do you talk with someone about like, this is, you know, paying for a service. Yeah, it's a service, it's a product, it's an art form. So that's definitely where it started for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn. So, okay. So as you were evolving and leveling up as a photographer, you were also too good enough to negotiate and you were getting bigger, cooler brands, stuff like that. And then was that you being like, cool, as a photographer, I need to be in LA? Like, was that the,
yeah. At this point, right? No music station, it's all just photography stuff. And, you know, I'm trying to survive out here, you know? So I was like, you know, I got to shoot where people want to hire me. And at that point, it was a lot of brands and it was a lot of artists in the hip hop genre.
Dope.
You know what I mean?
Dope.
When I started to do my music, it was hard to find people who knew how to produce instrumentals to the sound that I was looking for. And also, I didn't know what sound I wanted to do.
Right.
I didn't
right.
know. I'm like, damn, do I do something that's more towards like hip hop? Do I do something that's more towards rock? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I was like, I got to figure that out. I have no clue. I got to see what I like and what works. I know I like both things. I come from a very balanced background of, both, ends of the spectrum there on the rock and the hip hop side of things. And I would even like to say now that the more polished sound that I'm, where I'm currently at now developing, it's just kind of some new rock stuff. There's definitely
Yeah.
similarities, obviously, in any art form. There always is. But I like to say where I'm going and going towards, there's definitely a lot of new elements and there's little sprinkles and dabbles of all sorts of shit.
There's a lot happening in rock right now at the same time, because there's a lot of people that, oh, did you hear pop punk's back? And you're like, well, kind of, but it's also, it got so stale that a whole generation of people that were just excited about their own things started doing something, and it's a little bit different.
There's also like a lot of what I like to call recycled pop punk happening right now.
Yeah.
Where it's like taking something that was cracking and literally just saying, okay, let's just like remix that and make it sound the exact same. Which nothing wrong with that, but I'm just, my point of saying that is I think there's going to be something way bigger coming in rock that really hasn't hit yet.
Yeah.
Because living in LA, we're definitely ahead of the waves and all that shit. But this whole pop punk wave or revival of rock really hasn't even hit yet. And I think in the next like 2-ish years, year to 2 years, I mean, it's really gonna hit on a way that we've never seen rock before. Because right now, how it's hitting, we've seen this rock.
Yeah.
It's all pop punk. It's all stuff that was early 2000s. Like we've seen, 90s, early 2000s. We've already seen this type of music.
Yeah.
And it's just being like I said, like almost remixed now.
Yeah.
But this is allowing for this, there's the wave that's happening now. But there's this wave that's a fucking tidal wave that's gonna come and hit, I think.
You think back to bands, and it took so much work to start a band because you had to have 3 to 5 to 6 people that all had the same conviction, the same vision, the same dedication to play their instruments, to write music, to align, to get in a van and tour and agree.
Yeah.
And now the more and more people can produce their own music and write music on a computer, the more you can become Nathan James, right? It's you. That's like people associate you. It's not the Nathan James band, whatever. And like when you go out on tour live, you'll probably bring a band, but we're seeing more of like these solo artist type rock music. And that I think opens a door for every person who's ever wanted to make music. It doesn't matter whatever genre, or if you want to mix them, if you take the time to like write and define your own brand, your own music, your own project, you have more resource than ever now to do that yourself and not rely on other people. And I think that's where the renaissance will come from.
Yeah. What's great about rock is all the live instrumentation, but also what sucks and can be hard for someone to grow in a rock and roll artist or a band is the fact that there is a band. Because when you have 5 people or more than one other person, it's hard for, everyone to agree on the same look. Because, things I've heard people say in bands, it's like, oh yeah, us 3 are great. We all agree and we're all look sick as fuck naturally. But these 2, it's like we have to babysit and coach. Like they don't know how to be cool. And those are just things I've heard from other people saying things, And when you have 5 people to manage, there's obviously going to be more problems. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it makes it harder to make a band. And also, if you like rock music and you're seeing like, oh, I like rock and I want to do rock, there's a lot of people like, well, how do I start a band?
Right.
How do I find someone who's going to be committed?
Yeah.
It's going to be good at what they do, going to want to do the same stuff that I do.
Yeah.
So, okay, I won't do that. And that's what also made rock really hard to do. But now, being that, there can be this solo rock artist who performs live with the band and has different, producers, someone doing live drums and then someone doing the, the live bass or electric guitar or whatever it may be. Now it's much more of a streamlined, faster process to be able to be like, cool, I can do this now. I don't have to have a 5-person band.
Totally.
And have to have everyone agree. And hey, I want to do this for the video, but 3 people can't afford that split price.
Right.
Or don't want to pay that price.
Right.
So it made it so hard. And I think that's what ultimately like killed rock. Everyone likes to say like, rock had this time where it died, and now it's being, revived again. And I think it's being revived because, like we're saying, is technology,
Yeah.
social media,
Yeah.
and the solo band rock artist.
Yeah.
So I think that's great for the resurgence of rock music, because it allows it to be out there mainstream again, and more people able and kids to start and learn and do their own thing,
Well, that, and I think that like genre elitism is stupid. Like there's so many kids in our generation that grew up listening to hip hop and rap and everything in between.
Yeah, I mean, in our generation, like if someone says they didn't, they're lying, because that's what dominated the mainstream for so long.
Exactly.
And that's what media and billboards and posters, that's all that was pushed out.
Right. And I feel like there was a big, like not really, but like there was a little bit of like a pick aside at times, right?
Yeah.
And now more than ever, like artists are pushing that forward, where it's like how many, like you see it on both sides of like hip hop, like Lil Wayne, right? And like into like live guitars and stuff like that, and like wearing Vans and shit, and like bits
Lil
of
Wayne, man, that guy is so ahead of his time.
Oh my God, insane.
Like,
and then you have people like MGK who held it down in the hip hop space, and then he's like, "Cool, here's a rock album that everyone's going to talk about." You shot the cover of that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it takes to my downfall.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's cool. And that's so cool. Like that was such a pivotal piece of history that people will always talk about, of like, oh, this album really like helped to rebirth,
dude,
a lot of things in the rock space. So it's cool to say, I share a little piece of that. It's fucking awesome.
It's amazing. You cannot talk about like, oh, did you hear Rock's coming back, without hearing all MGK's out. You can't hear
we know that 10 years from now, when we're talking about this time, people are the name MGK is always going to pop up in the conversation, and the album Tickets to My Downfall.
Right. And it's also funny too, like people like Travis Barker that have been in it forever, that are behind the scenes of so much of the stuff, and so many factors. But yeah, actually you shot that.
Which one?
That cover.
Oh,
Tickets to My Downfall.
Tickets to My Downfall, yep.
So going back to you a little bit as a photographer, to get fully back to the artist side. So you moved to LA, you're shooting professionally, and for commercial stuff, for artists, for everything. What was that pretty easy for you to just get here and start doing that? Like, had you already established yourself enough, or where do you feel like you hit like your stride of like, I'm a successful photographer, I can live off of this?
Yeah, I had a little thing going in Denver.
Okay.
And then I literally woke up. It was fucking weird. I kid you not. I just woke up one morning. I was like, what the fuck am I doing living in Denver, Colorado?
Whoa.
I was like, I can live anywhere in the world, and I want to live in California. Weather, women, entertainment. I was like, that's the spot. You know? So I literally bought out of my lease that I had at my apartment, and I just moved in there. I was like, fuck this, I'm out. And I packed up my shit, put all the stuff that I couldn't fit in my car, I just left at my mom's house.
Yeah.
And the next day I drove 16 hours straight to California and said, let's get it.
Holy shit.
Yeah, just fucking full send.
Holy shit. So
that's
then,
crazy.
Like, did that accelerate the career? Like, how early into that were you like, all right, cool, I got this?
Well, I remember when I first moved here, I just made a post on Instagram. I was like, yo, gonna move to LA. Anyone I could like crash at their pad for a month and pay rent or whatever.
Amazing.
And my cousin hits me up. It's like, yo, you can stay with my mom's boyfriend.
Amazing.
And his name's Ralph. Shout out to Ralph, man.
Shout out to Ralph.
If there wasn't a Ralph, there wouldn't be a Nathan James right now.
Wow, it's like that.
Yeah, because he gave me a place to stay. You know, I was paying $200 a month to live there.
Oh my God.
Well, it allowed me to see, first of all, what part of LA I want to live in, and to see if I can make it work out here.
Yeah.
And I remember getting to his house, and he's very about like his antiques of his house. And it's like, the house hasn't changed in like 35 years, you know, like anything inside, very vintage and antique-ish, right? And I get in this room, and I can literally wall to wall touch with rocking, and there's just a mattress on the floor. And I remember I sat down on that bed after a 16-hour drive, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, damn, I hope I made the right choice.
What
here.
the fuck did I just do?
Yeah, I was like, damn, I gotta, it's literally float or sink at this fucking point.
Yeah.
And I made sure I was gonna float.
Holy
you know?
shit.
And I remember when I first got here, I was like, I'm not going to do any work for the first month. I was like, let me just experience. Let me just sniff around, fucking walk around, look around, feel around. Like, let me just see what's going on out here.
Yeah.
And then I was like, after I do that, then I'm going to, grind time.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see, okay, now I know how to strategize, move, what I shouldn't do, And so that's what I did. The first month I moved out here was no work.
Wow, that's so
let
interesting.
me just see it. Let me just take it in. Let me see what this is all about.
I like that. I've never really heard anyone explain that or do that before.
Sometimes people just want to dive in, but you're gonna kill yourself if you dive into something you don't know. So I was like, I have to know this a little bit.
What were your first perceptions? What did you notice?
I was just like, damn, girls out here are crazy.
Coming from like some
yeah, I mean, there's great looking women everywhere, but I came out, I was like, yo, what the fuck is that?
Okay.
That's crazy. I ain't never seen that before,
Yeah.
And that's definitely something I noticed right away. And I love the weather and I love the people. And then I knew that being out in LA, there's bullshitters everywhere, but I was like, dang, you can meet someone here who's like, I know so-and-so, or I do this, and they really do that. I was like, wow.
Oh, okay. Wow.
You know
so like the opposite of like the person that's going to lie to you, like where you're like, oh my God, that person actually does.
Yeah. Because you hear that all the time. And even LA, people will say they know this or that or a part of this and they're not.
Yeah.
But in LA is a spot where you're definitely going to find the people who actually are too.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. The best creatives and entertainers, a lot of them, they live out here. So I knew that business wise and the level of art and creativity of high quality exists out here in LA.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to be myself. So I knew if I wanted to be that, my best chances of making that happen as fast as possible and as dope as possible for me and what I was doing was to be in LA.
Yeah. Interesting.
So that's why I made that move.
So, okay. So you get out here, you're doing it, all photography. And was it like, did you have any pivot? Like, did you go on tours with artists or like what was your,
no, it's crazy,
man.
I would love to go on a tour with an artist as the content creator.
Yeah.
But I've always just done little things like 2 days, 3 days.
Interesting.
Little parts of shit.
Yeah.
Just never worked out in that aspect of it, but it's fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, your work, like, clearly
it doesn't affect anything I'm doing. So,
yeah.
but when I first started, I thought that would have been the coolest thing to like go on tours with the artist.
Yeah. What are some like sweet brags, like as far as like the highlights of your photography career? Like what are some like notable, like, damn, you did that or like shot that or?
I mean, shooting Lil Wayne was monstrous.
Okay, damn, you shot him. Yeah. I was just using that as an example. That's crazy. Yeah.
Me and Lil Wayne did a crazy shoot, and shout out to his manager, Mac. We got a lot of like up and coming projects too that me and Wayne are gonna work on, and same with the other artists that Mac manages.
You're still very active as a photographer.
Oh,
like,
active as fuck.
Absolutely
it'll
doing
never
both.
stop ever.
Okay, cool.
I will always be just as much photo as I am music, or music as photo. But yeah, man, I shot Justin Bieber for Vogue magazine once.
What?
Yeah, so like there's been tons of stuff, like Gucci campaigns, Post Malone. I've done a lot of stuff for Post. Shot that. Forget this only mixtape he put out. That was August something, 26 or something.
I won't get it.
And then shot a lot of photos that were on his like first ever March. But there's that one famous photo of Post Malone. Where
okay,
like,
yeah,
on his face and he's like with his grill. That photo helped set a lot of things off too. Yeah, there's been a lot of cool photo shit. Tickets to My Downfall, obviously, is massive. So #1 album in the world when it dropped.
So sick.
That was probably the biggest thing I've shot in terms that has a like a status success, like a rank. But biggest artist I've shot, probably Bieber and Lil Wayne.
That's so sick. That's so sick. And Post is pretty high up
Post,
there now.
Yeah, too. Yeah.
That is what I wanted to hear as far as you as a photographer, because I was so interested. Like that's such a respectable career. And
it's
then
tough.
Yeah,
motherfuckers don't know that to make money in any art is hard. Really hard. And even in photography, it's even harder because all these motherfuckers want shit for free.
Well, and so many people have a camera. And especially now in 2021, it's like, do you do video too?
And here's the trick with that, right? A lot of people do photography and videography.
Yeah.
But if you become exceptionally fucking undeniably really good at one thing in that photography field or multiple things, or just really good in general, then it's like, it's either you or nobody. Because like what I'm really known for now in photography is like my in studio work. my
Mm.
headshots or anything with studio lighting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fucking great at that.
Mm.
And people know that my price is this. And
Mm-hmm.
if you can't afford that, or there's a difference between being able to afford it and not wanting to pay it.
Sure.
If y'all don't want to do that or what, that's fine.
Yeah.
But they know with me, you're going to get a level of quality and service that, is really hard or not able to find elsewhere. You know what I mean?
Right. So maybe your successful action there was like you got really fucking good at being like, oh, you're gonna know Nathan Jane's studio.
Yeah, you're going to see a photo scrolling on Instagram and be like, Nathan probably shot that without
Yeah.
even knowing.
Right.
And that happens all the time. Oh, did you shoot this? And I'm like, oh yeah, I did.
So that was like a very successful piece that you did where you're like, I'm not gonna do both. I'm gonna
Yeah, it's just
hyper
like any
focus
artist,
master
right? Like
this.
a painter, you could like see a painter like Alec Monopoly, and oh, that's Alec Monopoly without even knowing Alec Monopoly did it because it's very distinguishing, like a look.
Yeah.
And when it comes to my in studio headshot stuff, it's a very distinguished look. And honestly, like people know I like to use the different color backdrops and the headshot stuff. That was never really a thing until I started doing it, and you see a lot more people doing that now.
Yeah.
Not to say it hasn't been done before, because it has, but it became very popular in the music and entertainment side of things once I started doing that, getting popular because other photographers and stuff saw that happening.
Yeah.
So I definitely like to say, hopefully I was a little bit of a pioneer in people liking that style of taste, which is cool. And especially definitely a pioneer in like photographer rock star.
Well, okay, so that's the perfect transition. So it's like clearly we have established like you've had a very successful career as a photographer.
Yeah.
But here you are doing both. And that's what a balance that you do not see. I do not see photographer, rock star, photographer, any type of musician.
And it was hard because I was like, okay, if I really want to do both, and I'm not going to quit photography to just do music or just do music and quit photography, I'm not going to do that. So I was like, how do I do both? I haven't seen it. I have no blueprint to go off of. There's been no one who's really hasn't been done. And, I'm definitely the pioneer of like, who was a real top-notch photographer to also, doing really great stuff in like the music space too.
Yeah.
So I didn't know. I was like, do I call myself, like, if someone explains, what are you?
Right.
And it took me a while to figure out what it is, but it's photographer, rock star. Just that's the quickest thing to explain it.
Yeah.
It you know what I'm talking about when I say that. Okay, he does photography and he does rock music.
Yep.
It took forever to figure that out, you know, but I was like, okay, that's the best way to identify me.
Yeah.
Photographer, rock star.
There's a book that I keep referencing lately. It's called Building a Story Brand.
Uh-huh.
And the whole thing is like, does your brand, does your product pass the caveman test? Can a caveman see this and be like,
the
I get
dummy
it.
test.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're looking at a website, if you're looking at anything, whether you're selling a widget or a product or a service, it's like, does it pass the dummy test?
So
and it's like
true.
2 words like photographer, rock star. Like, I think it does. I think we're there.
I hope
and
it does.
It did for me. That's why we're talking. I was like, I see it. So like, is that something that you put a decent amount of time and effort into? Is that important for you to?
I was just like, how do I balance it both so that like, it's not like, oh, he's just a photographer. Oh, he just does rock music. I was like, how do I let people know he is a photographer, rock star? And I was like, oh, that photographer, rock star.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, those are the 2 words to
Well, I think
identify.
the image, like, I mean, I don't really.
You know what's fucked up?
Yeah.
Speaking of image, when I was just doing photography, I kind of like let myself go a little bit. Like I'd always been really into fashion, like in middle school and high school.
Yeah.
And then in college, I stopped caring about exactly, not that I didn't care, but I was way less into my physical appearance.
Interesting.
Than I am now.
Because you're behind a camera.
Music,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was because I was behind the camera. And so when it came to like wearing stuff I normally wear or want to do things, I didn't really care.
Right.
And I hated that. And I didn't realize I kind of let that go of me until I was like, I'm going to do music, because doing music, you're in front of the camera and that's part of branding is your image. So I was like, damn, I kind of lost myself of like the style and dress and the things that I've always liked and been into. And I was, as a little kid too, sometimes you're not able to afford the things that you want to rock or wear. And I was like, damn, like I can be how I want to be now.
because you are like established as a photographer and you've made your own money and you have your own success, I think you now have advantages over other artists in a really cool way.
Facts.
And I don't think that that's something to be like, oh, not fair is an advantage. Like, no, that shit's earned. Like, you did that. It's just a non-traditional route to get there.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that's not fair thing, because there's definitely people who love to talk shit on, oh, he's just doing what he's doing in music because of his photography. You damn fucking right. That's an element of how I got it. And motherfucker, I grinded to get that level in photography.
Yes.
You act like it just happened.
Right.
No, I'm self-fucking taught. Fucking no mommy, daddy money. Fucking special ed student, grinder, hustler. I fucking put in those times to have those connections and have those resources and be respected like that. And now I'm trying to do that same thing in music. So I worked for that.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
And that's fucking cool. And I like that because like the world is really fucking hard, especially if you want to be an artist.
Yeah.
So it's like the idea to take somebody like yourself where you do this art gallery and you're like, damn, I had a lot of fun making music. Maybe I should do this. Like, do you think you're not going to use your resources? Like, it's any advantage that you have, any competitive advantage,
you'd be a fool not to.
Yeah.
Yeah. What am I going to try to make my life harder and not use the advantages and connections that I have and resources?
And that doesn't make you any lesser of an artist or anything like that.
That's the whole goal in business, is work smarter, not harder. We've all heard it. So any way that you can work smarter and not harder, you better utilize it.
Yes. So
end of story.
I think this is so fun. I've never been able to talk to anybody about this because I've never talked to anybody that is a photographer rock star. Yeah. So some of the advantages that I would assume would be, one, you have your own career where you can pay for things. So as far as videos or any type of content or anything you need to, you're good. You don't necessarily need a label. But then also you understand branding and image so much more than many probably would. You can look at our album art. You can look at yourself as an artist and say, as the photographer, how would I shoot them? How do I make this story? How do I tell this story? Yeah. You probably know that.
Yeah. And like all my photos that I post of me, I always edit them.
Interesting. So you're your own creative director.
Yeah. Obviously I can't shoot it.
Right.
But even when I do have someone shoot it, I usually have all the settings and lighting I set up, and I just need someone to be the trigger man.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, like, hey, just press click.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then I edit it all. So that's awesome.
Some of the things that I would imagine you don't have as an advantage is just like when you couldn't find resource in the early days of having a camera and learning settings and all that. Like, I mean, you're starting from square one. Like, had you played music before? Like, what was the process of learning how to write a song? Or like, it
was so hard. I had to have someone just kind of like walk me through, like, this is how you write a song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because before I started doing music, I never listened to music as like, oh, okay, here's the intro, here's the pre-chorus, here's the bridge and the breakdown. And you know, like, I'm listening because I like to hear fucking music.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I never listened to it from like creating the song process.
Yeah.
It's like, how the fuck do I do this?
Yeah.
So I had to ask people, and they help, guide me along, like, okay, like, these are ways that songs are written.
And I would imagine you had people you could ask because you've been in music and shooting entertainers for a long time.
Yep. So they helped me with kind of structuring that out. And then, I think my writing has, improve from then.
Yeah.
From my first song to my newer songs.
And here's a question, because this is becoming more and more common, and I don't think it's a thing to be looked down upon at all. Like, it's so cool, is as an artist, you can find a producer that totally gets your sound.
Yeah.
How deep in it do you go? Like, do you work with a producer? Because
I prefer to be in the studio while the producer is putting the instrumental together.
Okay. Yeah.
Because most times if someone just shows me something they make, I'm not going to fully like the whole thing.
Yeah.
I want to change things.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
So, but hey, again, work smarter, not harder. If someone shows me something that's already done and sounds great and I love it, then awesome. I'll be like, let's rock with that instrumental.
Totally.
But most of the time it's starting from scratch. I definitely co-produce some of these instrumentals too, of like, yo, let's go with this sound or this pitch, or let's throw in some piano here, or let's throw in, some electric, or I want to do this for the drum pattern here, or you know what I mean? So there's also that guidance aspect in the producing. Kind of like like a coach, you know,
Right.
I'm not a phenomenal drummer. I'm not a phenomenal guitarist, but you are.
Yeah.
And together we make a good team, and I
Right.
know what I want and you know how to do it, and we co-produce that together.
Some of the best artists I've seen have learned programs like Adobe Suite and shit like that. They have no technical knowledge, but they have the vision. They say, this image, this color grade, this whatever, it needs to look like this. And they just have that.
Yeah.
So maybe they need somebody who has a little more technical expertise to move sliders and get it there,
Yeah.
but they see that vision.
Mhm.
And that, I think, is like the artist, right? Like if you
Huge.
see that, so that's something like I know a lot of technical stuff with certain elements of whatever.
And even to add to that, some motherfuckers can shred on guitar.
Yeah.
But when it comes to making up an original instrumental,
Right.
they can't do it.
Yeah.
But they know how to play anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So everyone has their different strengths. And I learned this from Kanye West. Well, in my own words, what I took from it is don't try to be a hero in everything.
Yeah.
You know what you're good at.
Yeah.
And find specific people who are really great at those other things. It's like a basketball team, right? Like there's a point guard, you have a center, a shooting guard, right? Like let people play their role. If you're a point guard, don't try to be a center.
Right.
If you're a center, don't try to be a point guard, right? Like know what you're good at, be fucking great at it, and let other people be great at their parts. Team.
So
you know what I mean?
well
And,
said.
You know, when everyone's really great at what they're, you know, when the team's really great at their specific things, that's how you get a fucking amazing product.
Yeah.
You know, so
that's good.
You don't need to learn everything.
Yeah.
And when I was starting music, I was like, I need to learn how to record myself. I need to learn how to make my own instrumentals, all this. And it's like, I am, you know, learning those things.
Yeah, you will by proxy.
You know, there's people who will be better at that no matter how much time and effort I put into it.
Right.
And you got to know when to let people play their role.
That's so cool though. As far as the crossover and as far as doing both, as you're now doing it, and like I think I'm so excited for the artist project because I didn't realize it was this early and it's good already.
Thank
so
you,
I'm
man.
curious
I
to see
really
where you
appreciate
go.
that. Yeah. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
But like where are there bits of it where you're like, oh, this is cool. I can basically copy paste what I've learned as a photographer and do this and it's great. And then are there bits where you're like, oh fuck, back to the drawing board? Like what's this process
There's
been
definitely
like?
stuff that's transferable information.
Yeah.
You know, what worked in photography will work in music, you know, whether like it's a creative process or a business thing or a strategy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that transferable information that will move from one to the other.
Yeah.
But there's always new stuff, man. You think something's going to work and it's going to be great. And hey, if I do this or if I do that, this should work. But you ultimately never know until it's out and you see what the results are.
I would put you in this new category of like the new wave of rock. And in that new wave of rock, I don't think you need to sit down with a band of 5 dudes to write your song. You can sit down with a producer. You can sit down with whoever you creatively jive with. Mm-hmm. You also don't need a label. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying you can't, because there are labels that are doing amazing things, but I just think you're in a really cool pocket where with your understanding of the industry already from a career that you're already in and doing, and the people that you've met through that, I'm sure you have friends that are happy to support you and like that you can ask questions. But it's like, I just feel like it's kind of this choose your own adventure right now where as you build, you could continue to do this independent. You could do it with a team. Like you have a really cool spot right now.
Yeah. I mean, just us even talking about it kind of makes me even realize more. Yeah, it is. I guess it is an interesting position. You know, what's crazy is sometimes you can think a team will make your life easier, but sometimes that can distract you from realizing that you're better off handling certain things yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so that can be tricky. You know, you might think, hey, I need this person to do this for me.
Yeah.
So I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
But sometimes in doing that, number one, they might care less. They're not really passionate about it. And they might not be as good at doing that as you are.
Yeah. Well,
so that's tricky too. So it's like definitely handle on your own what you can, but also keep in mind time. Time is the most valuable thing we have. So if you can save time and not sacrifice quality, good. But if you're sacrificing quality and time, then you got to re-hit the drawing board, because save time, don't lose quality. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. Save time, don't lose quality.
Ooh,
You know?
I like that.
Yeah, you got to look at any business thing is, how am I going to save time and not
Yeah.
lose quality?
Well, it's a very pan-determined conversation we're having here, because like on one side you're advocating know your role, have your team, and I completely agree. On the other side, it's like do what you can, and maybe you don't always need everything.
Exactly.
So it is
Don't think you need
right.
everything. You know, there's going to be things you get better at. So
Yeah.
but definitely, and there are those people out there who can, you know, produce smacker instrumentals, play every fucking instrument, engineer themselves, mix, master, market. There's people who can do those things.
Yeah.
You know, most people, you know, can't.
Right.
And so know when, hey, is this worth my time,
Right.
short term or long term,
Yeah.
to spend all this time and energy learning this?
Yep.
Or is it better spent somewhere else?
Right.
And that's the tricky part, is you got to know, okay, I really need to spend a lot of time to learn this and get good at this. Or, hey, you know what? That's not where my time is best spent right now.
Or it's just not a natural strength.
Yeah, or it's not a natural strength, either or, yeah.
Which is totally
100%.
fine.
Yep, totally
Because
fine.
where you have an advantage in some places, you don't have it all, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe not every artist or every band would know like perfect vision of how an artist should be as an image, or the creative direction side that you probably have on lock at this point. But it's like, okay, cool. So maybe they have way better production or like way better recording knowledge or instrumental skills.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I feel like it's like a give and trade. But that was, again, so much of what I wanted to talk about in this is just like, how fucking cool is it that you've successfully done both, and where this crossover is?
Yeah, that is kind of fucking cool. I'm kind of seeing that like right now.
I'm absolutely
like,
intrigued by
yeah,
it.
you know, there is a little bit of, I mean, definitely on the photography side, yes, there's, you know, the success to it. And now even the music too, there's some success happening that's like legitimate, like cool shit where both are coming together. And I'm a humble guy, and I always try to be very honest and real. If I'm good at something, I'll say I'm good at it. If I suck at something, I say I suck at it. You know? And I'm trying to get better at it.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to be the best artist and person I can be. I'm not trying to be an asshole, or I just want to be honest.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't like honest opinions, especially if they're directed towards themselves. And there's things that I'm honest with myself that I don't like, you know, that I wish I was better at or more skilled at. But, you know, don't run away from, you know, challenges or things that, you know, you can improve on.
Yeah.
All of us have flaws. All of us have weaknesses, but in return, we all have strengths.
Yeah.
So
That's
you
really
can
well
always
said.
improve on all sorts of shit, you know?
That's really well said. So I guess my question to almost conclude it then is like, as this artist that you are, what do you see next? Like, what's ideal for you next? Like, it seems like you're putting a lot of focus on really doing the Rockstar side of it.
Yeah. I mean, the photography, like, hopefully I live a long life, right? And at the end of my life, I would love to say like, wow, I'm a very notable and respected photographer. And, you know, galleries and just, you know, very high valued work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's
Art.
a high demand for what I did. I would love to be there on the photography side of things. And then on the music side of things, same thing. I would love to go down as like, man, that guy was a pioneer of doing this photographer rock star shit. Great artist, good message, you know, stood for the popular outcast, for the misfit, puts a good message into the world. And, you know, I want to help change people's lives for the better, you know, through my music and my art. So if I could, you know, die one day of achieving those both things, then home run, you know, that'd be the win.
Fucking love that, dude.
Oh yeah,
That's
thanks.
so fucking cool.
Yeah, that's a lot of the story now. You know, the rest is to still be written.
Yeah.
You know, so I just got to keep staying focused and just every day, like a brick by brick process. And some days you lay down one brick, and some days you lay down 10. You know, like speed of success can happen brick by brick, or it can happen house by house. You know, so it just depends.
So fucking cool, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
This was great.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. There you have it, the Nathan James podcast. I cannot wait to watch him continue to blow up on the artist front. I'm so excited for him. And I think it's so cool that he's been able to do both so well. And I hope that's inspired y'all to think about your own creative careers and know that really anything is possible and you can kind of break rules and define your own path. So that's what I took away from this episode. I hope it got you thinking and scheming and inspired out of your mind. And if it did, and you're here at the end and you want to help me and help anyone else get inspired and learn and enjoy this, do me the favor of sharing this podcast with anyone you know that you think would like it. That's either texting them or sending it to them directly or just posting on your socials. Share it on Instagram. If you want to go above and beyond, there is a Where Are All My Friends Patreon. A lot of time and money goes into making these episodes, and I do it purely as a passion project, and I would love for it to grow to something that I could do just full time. So that's patreon.com/Where Are All My Friends. I think that just about says it. Thank you, as always, for listening to the podcast. Let me know who else you want to hear from, and I'll be back next week with another episode.